So I have the Core i5-2500K processor right here, and I'm going to actually show you that I've overclocked it to 4.5 gigahertz, or 4,489 megahertz, about that. And this is a little stress test program right here, IntelBurnTest, and it will basically like run the CPU at 100% usage on all four cores while using a bunch of RAM. So that's what I'm going to do right now. I'm going to start it. And this right here will monitor how warm and how cool it is and that kind of stuff. So the test is started, and you can see the CPU temperature was around 50 degrees on all of them, and now it's clearly going up to like 70 degrees. But as you can tell, the high is around 90 degrees on all of these, and the max temperature is 98 degrees Celsius that this CPU can handle without having to shut down. And a little information about the CPU: it's a Core i5-2500K. The 2 means it's a Sandy Bridge one, second generation Core Sandy Bridge, and then the 500 means it's the fifth version of it, and the K means it's unlocked. So it's unlocked, so I've overclocked it to 4.5 gigahertz, and the original clock speed of 3.3 gigahertz, which is much slower. So this is over a gigahertz faster than the stock clock speed, which is quite a bit. It's a 32 nanometer chip at 95 watts, so this doesn't use much power compared to older processors. And the core voltage I kept at the default, which right now is 1.28, around 1 or 1.296 volts, around there. It kind of goes up and down depending on the load and everything. And it has 6 megabytes L3 cache, and then plenty of L1 and L2 cache, 4 cores, 4 threads, and to overclock it, I set the multiplier up. I kept the default 100 megahertz bus speed. Then I went with the multiplier, moved it up to 45, making it go to 4.5 gigahertz. So that's how I made it go much faster than like the default 3.3 gigahertz, which is much slower. And this machine has 4 gigabytes of RAM, so DDR3 and 1333. And it has AMD 6450 graphics and a P67 motherboard, so it can overclock. So this machine, it's ran through the first test, and it's right around 90 degrees, a little bit less. Some of them are like 81, which is around 80. Well, the one's at 80 was at 86. So the temperatures are actually pretty good. This is with the stock cooler on the Core i5-2500K, the one that came in the box with the Core i5 processor. So this means that this processor is really great even with the stock cooler, and if I was to get like water cooling, like $100 water cooler, or like any like better air cooler, then the overclock could be much better, maybe like 5.5 gigahertz or even higher if you really want to try. But the system is keeping cool. I hold my hand over the fans. Can be a little bit warm at the top, right above the CPU, but it's overall not too bad. The case I'm using is the NZXT Alexa S, so overall the case isn't like any super high-end cooling one or anything. It just has 4 fans, so it's really doing pretty well. That one's up to 90 degrees now, the Core 1, and the others are a little bit below that. And from the previous tests I've ran, it does get up to 92 degrees, which is still quite a bit less than the 98 degrees Celsius max. So that's actually 6 degrees Celsius less than its actually maximum. And again, this is all at 100% load. So this is a very stable overclock at 4.5 gigahertz, although we don't really know how much longer it'll last or how the lifespan of the CPUs decline due to the overclock, but I don't really expect it to be much since it's not really getting overheated much, and at idle it's still around like 50 degrees Celsius, which is pretty good. So as you can tell, the third test ran, so it's on the 4th test right now out of 5 tests. It's using up most of the RAM, about a gigabyte's left of RAM, but the RAM isn't all that important when it comes to testing the CPU, since the CPU is different from the RAM. Anyways, this CPU is actually a very good pricing. It costs around $200, a little bit over $200 if you buy it from Newegg right now. So that's pretty good pricing. It's much cheaper than the Core i7-2600K, which is the other Intel overclockable CPU with a Sandy Bridge architecture, and that's pretty good actually, since it's like $100 cheaper and it can still power a lot of things. Like this, it's just pretty good because you can see I can like open up Chrome and stuff, and like arrow effects and everything will work fine. See, and it still performs very well even though the CPU is at 100% on all 4 cores, which is not something that not many CPUs can actually do. And the 5th test is going on right now, so it's about to be done. So you can see that it's still like right around 90 degrees Celsius, not going to go much higher than that. Although if it's at like this in like a really warm room, it's probably not going to be the same. My room right now is at about 80 degrees Celsius, at 80 degrees Fahrenheit, and that's fairly warm in my room, although it's not really doing much to the CPU. If you're in a much colder room, it would probably overclock even better. And still, it's just around the same clock speed, 4.5 gigahertz again, and it's still not too warm. Okay, you can see here that the finished testing the system, and for 329 seconds it was at 100% load, and it's really doing pretty good. You can see the temperatures are dropping quite a bit now since it's not really doing much anymore. It's right, not much load. I'm just recording this video and everything, and I have a bunch of stuff open in the background, but it's still doing pretty good. And that just shows you how well this Core i5-2500K performs, and more videos come about this processor and this system I just built. So you can follow me on Twitter, MattCousinDZL. Then I have ZLStudios.net Tech Bug, full of the latest tech news. And then I have 2 YouTube channels. This is Liam Quaid's YouTube channel, at Liam Quaid on YouTube. Then I have a CousinDZL one too. That's tech news. This is more of other videos. So, and you can see it's back to around 50 degrees Celsius. So that's pretty much the idle, even though it's not quite idle. But that's about it.